challenges of the week. What did you face this week that was challenging to you? Good morning and welcome to finally Friday. We are here, and I already know that from Monday till today we've had things that we've had to honestly face. What did you all face this week as you got through your week? And aren't you grateful that you've made it through the week? I'll tell you what, there has been a lot of graduations because I have seen the stores getting graduation things. And we want to say happy graduation. If you've got a graduate, do us a favor here at vibetalkfacingthelion podcast. Would you add your graduate so that we can make our own class of 2024 from the little tykes to the older and mature, wherever you're graduating from? We celebrate the entire class of 2024. Challenges. When we think of challenges, Friday is always the time to challenge ourselves. Although we should do it every day, but what do we challenge ourselves to do more of? Or to even start doing, period. I thought today would be good to talk about apologizing. How many of us like it when someone apologizes? And that is without having to be told to apologize. The majority of you would have your hand up because we all like an apology. But how many of us realize that there are times when there are needs to apologize? I'm going to tell you right now, for anyone that I have offended, I'm going to take the initiative to apologize. Because sometimes we can offend people without even knowing it. None of us are perfect. You know, we talk about emotions, we talk about feelings. But how do you feel when a person is unapologetic? We're going to talk about that. So we say to people how we would appreciate an apology. And when we apologize, we acknowledge the feeling of an offense. Or even when someone has made a mistake, we can apologize for that. How many times have we had to? Well, I hope it's been more than we could ever count, because that shows that we're not perfect. And if we can count the times that we've had to apologize, then I guess you're off to a good start. But no, when we apologize, we're acknowledging something about ourselves. Have you ever wondered, though, Why is it that is so hard for people to apologize? Why do you guys think that is? To admit to a mistake. When we apologize to people, how do you feel? You feel good, right? You feel better. You feel a ton of weight lifted off of you. But I want to tell you something. How about when you're expecting an apology and you don't get what you've expected, which is an apology? Well, we're going to look at this because we've all, at one time or another, had a need to apologize or had someone needed to apologize to you. Sometimes we hurt others without meaning to. I know myself, when I am very straightforward and not kidding around, I can come across as harsh, mean, and we understand that many people are not meant to be that way. And so when people are not meant to be that way, here's what begins to happen. They have different experience that make them have varied feelings. So there's something to think about. It's when we, though, realize that we have hurt someone, is when we should apologize. Come a little closer. It's when we realize that we have hurt someone that we should apologize. How many times have we done that? We're going to learn about apologizing. And we're going to open it up to you as the audience. We are here, and our commitment to you is to listen to what you have to say. And as you have to say something, we want you to give today some consideration as to the power of an apology. How many of you think that it's powerful to apologize? Or that it does have an effect on someone when we apologize. A lot of people have been environmentally saying or apologizing when they've done nothing wrong. And I mean, even if it's something simple, they apologize that they have to answer their phone by saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But is that necessary? We want you to realize that saying I'm sorry is a way of being able to show sympathy or empathy in any given situation. So if you can't answer your phone, the other person should be understanding of that. If you can't pick somebody up because you had an emergency, we apologize for the simplest things in life. We're talking about real deep hurt to apologize. Do you have to do it in a public setting? That's not necessary. But when we go to someone in private to just say these words, I am sorry. And then waiting for that response, watching the facial expression of the person that you just said that to, how do you think it's going to make them feel? Because a lot of times we've been prone to just say, I'm sorry. And I know when my kids were a lot younger, I always wanted them to understand why they were apologizing. So my next question to them would always be, when they apologize, what are you sorry for? So that they understand the relationship of the words and the meaning behind that. You know, a lot of people say sorry means that you just don't do it again. Well, we're going to make mistakes. And how many of us actually make mistakes? Every last one of us who've ever been born make mistakes. It is so important to apologize to anyone that you've offended. We can't go around in the world thinking that we don't offend people. But we can say we don't try to offend people. Now, I want you to think back on this finally Friday of someone that you can fill in the blank with, even if it's one person. In fact, let's just start with one person that you may need to apologize to. And we're going to write the word I'm sorry or I apologize, whichever one fits for yourself. And then we're going to work out why. So at the top of your devices, whatever you're working with, I want you to be able to write the word I'm sorry and then put who you need to apologize to. See, that's powerful, because by you writing this, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, it's power behind it. And when you do that, you're realizing the acknowledgement. Instead of saying, well, why do I have to be sorry? Because there's always somebody that we should apologize to. And let's take it even one step further. When was the last time you apologized to someone, or someone apologized to you? See, that in itself, that question in itself makes you think, doesn't it? If you have too far to count back, and the first question I asked was, when was the last time that you apologized? See, it's the affirmative of you taking action. We must be responsible and accountable for ourselves. When was the last time that you apologize to someone? Because we're all imperfect. You know, we love to be flawless. We're in our world that we live in, we're perfect. We're living in a Barbie world. Let me burst your bubble. Not. We don't live in a perfect world. So the acknowledgement comes from looking at our own inner souls, the souls of our mirror, looking in the inside, not the outside. Even if it's somebody that we're going to put on our list today to say, you know, I really should have apologized. We are having the need to face that challenge. And when we say that we're sorry, do you feel it first when you're saying it? You know, because sometimes we talk to people and they are saying they're sorry, but they're really feeling sorrow. And that's what I want us to do to connect with our emotions. And I find myself oftentimes apologizing because not that I'm straightforward, but it may come off to someone as very abrasive when it wasn't intended for that. So oftentimes I need to apologize to the hearer. How are we doing in this regard? Have we put the name down of the person that you need to apologize? And by the way, if you need to apologize to yourself, I want you to include yourself, because we just need to apologize to ourselves oftentimes. In our life's challenges, we're facing so much. We face the challenges of not being good enough. Apologize to yourself, because today you are enough. Apologize to yourself for all the good times that you could have had and you chose not to allow yourself to have that because you felt like you didn't deserve that. Today, you deserve to have a good time. Apologize to yourself for not feeling good today and you just pushed yourself when maybe you could have rested. Because that's okay not to feel good today. Please apologize to yourself for being harsh on yourself. See, sometimes we take the equation out of being harsh on ourselves. What do? What do we do when we're finding it hard to apologize, even to ourselves? See, because some of us face the challenge of saying I'm sorry to ourselves, and we're unapologetic to even ourselves. Here's the power behind apologizing. It's a healing effect. Come a little closer. I said it's a healing effect. You begin to soothe, you begin to massage hurt feelings. How does it work? First, we must look at how we see ourselves. When we don't see ourselves as good enough, what could we do to heal ourselves? Even when we don't want or don't know how to apologize, we must acknowledge ourselves. Even if we are having the worst day of our life, we need to think about the better times and a time where we felt free. Because maybe it's freer for you to apologize to others, but not to yourself. Everyone get that? Sometimes we are hardest on ourselves. So, when we think about ourselves, how do we feel? Do we intentionally want to forgive ourselves or unintentionally disregard the need to apologize to ourselves? We need to think about that. We're going to come right back as we discuss this further. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I promise you.
Always positive. And so I ask you today, as we are going to be facing our lions or challenges of the week, what did you face this week that was challenging to you?
We're back. And I'm so glad on this front, finally Friday, that you're able to join us. Our conversation is facing the challenges of apologizing, including ourselves. When we think about apologizing to others and apologizing to ourselves, we look back at experiences of how we've been hurt or harmed, or how others have been hurt or harmed. How do we face this challenge to be able to get effective in our interaction when dealing with people? You know, many people say, I'm sorry. That's a simple 2 words. I'm sorry. But yet they can be very powerful in the ability or its ability to help relationships, heal feelings. It's not always easy. How much, though, would you like to hear those very simple words? When we think about the effectiveness of an apology, Are we really, truly from the heart sorry, or do we just say it to shut the person up and to get over that conversation and go to the next? That's for you to decide. When you think about the need to apologize, excuse me, let's think about you're being the victim or the offender. Which one are you? Which one have you been? Let's think about that. We want to think about how, when we apologize, more than all else, your response to it. Your response to it. Now, when we're not serious about apologizing or taking it as a joke, we need to think about the severity and the damage that it could do to yourself or others in the relationships. Let's think about that. And we need to create healing space for ourselves and that of the others. When someone hurts my feelings, should we make a big deal about it? If it's important to you, saying the words, you know, that really hurt my feelings when you said or did. Because you're acknowledging your feelings. You're gaining access to your feelings and you're getting connected to how you're feeling without dismissing it. And most of all, you are creating for yourself the release of any kind of resentment or later effects. And the effects are not always the best. But we want you to think about these words, I'm sorry or I apologize. Sometimes people are finding it very hard to say those two things. That's been a challenge. And even when we're not here, we want you to still think about that. Fridays are good because you've been through the whole week. You've been challenged with things. We want you to really become familiar with it. You know, because we're all about feelings in this podcast. When we are saying I'm sorry or I apologize, we are learning responsibility and accountability. You know, in working with people, I've heard people say, I am sorry for the pain that I've caused someone else due to my actions. You know, I think that's a really powerful and lion-like spirit to be able to say that. Because you're now accepting and you're now saying, I'm responsible, I'm accountable, I stand for accountability. Especially when you know. How many of you, and I have to be honest, know that you did something and you know it in your brain. Maybe the hearer didn't know, but you knew I said it because at the time I meant to say it. And then you later regret it. And then you have to go back and apologize. How many of you have been in that space before? I have. I want you to accept responsibility for that. And even sometimes if it's happened a long time ago and people say, oh, I forgot about that. They say that they forgot about it, but really all feelings lay dormant until you talk about it. And maybe they have. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you have forgotten about it, but the moment they bring it up, you remember it. Because people will recall things that you've done because we recall things that they've done. So let's start taking accountability. It may be the past, but even when you apologize for something that happened, maybe they forgot. But it does come up. How many of us have memories that are jarred when something triggers us? We go back to that memory. That's what happens when a person has hurt our feelings. We remember that they did that. Someone recalled that to me. Do you remember that time when you hurt me? And I thought, wow, they still remember that. And that was good for me to hear that, because it shows that we have the power to affect people. Let's challenge ourselves to be able to use the apology more regularly in our lives. We need to think about the power of how I'm sorry or I apologize, how it affects us. We need to think about reasoning it out, how it makes us feel when someone has not apologized to us. I think for the most part that if people were apologized to, we would have better mental health. I am no doctor. I am just a life coach. But if everybody took the time to apologize, we would have a lot of people that will feel better about themselves. Don't you want to feel better about yourself? When you're unofficially unapologetic and you are forced to say you're sorry, I just want you to know the effect of that. That, my friends, is a bad apology. Please never do that. And I don't usually give advice like that, but I say that because you're going to make the situation worse. Apologize when you can be sincere, when you can be truly empathetic about feelings. Because sometimes we, again, want to live in a perfect world. We don't. But we must challenge ourselves to be apologetic. We want people to respond well. We don't have the power for that, but we do have the power to be able to challenge ourselves to apologize. Becoming aware. We're going to make mistakes. We've been unapologetic to ourselves. This is really important because all these things that we're talking about affects your mental health. We want you to stay sensitive. We care about you being sensitive, and that's why I'm bringing this up. The challenges of apologizing. Whomever it is that you need to apologize to, please take action with that. Doesn't have to be a long, outdrawn conversation, because I guarantee you, just as I ask you to put down somebody on your paper, whether it's you apologizing to yourself, others, or you even apologizing, those all affect your mental and emotional health. Whatever the situation was, let's analyze it and find out. Why is there a need to apologize? Let me ask you another question. And I want you all to think about it, because I know that our podcast is worldwide and we have so many people that do listen from time to time. If there was anybody in the world today that lives in your world or that has been a part of your world, I want you to put the name there. Of the person that has been the most hurtful to you. I'm going to give you a minute, because this may trigger so many people. Who in life has been the most hurtful to you? And as you write this, I want you to say why it was hurtful and what your feeling was when they hurt you. Everybody got that? When you think about the information that you gather from that, why not? Why not have an apology? If there could be anybody that you feel owes you an apology, as well as you owing them, I want you to do both assignments. Challenge yourself for the one that needs to apologize to you and you never got that apology. I want you to really think about it. Good morning, Ray, and thank you for joining. Because there is a lot of hurt out there. And when I meet with people, there are sessions that people have said, that person never apologized to me. Or how about this one? Never getting the chance to say, you're sorry. How many of you have had that experience where you've never gotten the chance to apologize to the person? I think it's important that we challenge ourselves and looking at ourselves. And this is what Vibe Talk does. It helps us to look at ourselves, including myself. I never want to not apologize. Here's a good lesson, and maybe you all can learn from me. My nephew that was murdered, he and I had gotten into a little tiff, a little argument verbally. Wasn't bad enough, because he's like my kid brother. So I grew up with him. But it was over something very minor at the time. And thank God I got the chance to apologize because it was so minor. Well, the next couple of weeks, he was murdered. Although I was very sad, I was glad that I didn't ever have to spend my years saying, I didn't get to say I'm sorry. I didn't get the chance to apologize. Thankfully, I had apologized, and he got to hear it. So let's challenge ourselves to be able to say those words. Ray says good morning, and I say pride sometimes gets in the way when we want to apologize, but we feel like we're weak. We're weak for being. Thank you, Ray. We feel like we're weak for being the bigger person, no matter the situation. So very true. Thank you so much. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for joining our live audience. So what do you take home from my experience of the need to apologize? We want you to be able to break through lion-like barriers that keep us from apologizing. We don't connect. We don't accept responsibility or accountability for actions. We will not accept it. And this is how you know a person doesn't accept it. Because when you say you should apologize, what are the next words that follow? For what? I didn't do anything. What did I do? If you've got to make all those statements, you've already disengaged from your accountability. So never may that be the truth with us. We feel good when we apologize. We feel better. We have better health. Always recognizing and accepting responsibility in a apology. How about when you apologize and you feel like people are going to know I'm weak? Ray, I think you're bringing that out. That's not a weakness when we see the need to apologize. In fact, you've been motivated to do something good. That's a feel good. It shows that you're good people, that you have morale about yourself. And you recognize that you've done something wrong. We have need to challenge ourselves when we have need to apologize. Just like we want people to apologize to us, we should in turn apologize. It's good health to you. Because the first thing we do, we feel uncomfortable. We say, I don't want to apologize. I feel great when I apologize. In fact, a friend of mine said, you always apologize when you need to. I don't know what the problem is. Now we see ourselves a little better. If we're having issues with that, let's try to challenge that. Everybody loves to challenge each other. Let's challenge our emotions. If you've got someone on your list that you need to apologize to, go ahead and do it. If you've got someone on your list that needs to apologize to you, let's hope for the best that they'll do it. This podcast is to help your experience with emotions, not to blame you. We don't do that. Let's think about the impact of an apology. What would be the impact of an apology? People don't usually turn you away because you apologize. In fact, I'll give you another reveal with an ex of mine who apologized for all the psychological stuff that they put me through. So, my question to you is, when a person apologizes, does it mean back that you go back into the relationship? If it was in a relationship, do you go back in that relationship? Well, that would be up to you. But I want to tell you what I did. I accepted the apology with access still being denied. Which doesn't mean that you're going to come to my home, you're going to sit down. No, it's not going to be a relationship like that. It's going to be a civil relationship. That you have now realized what you've done. You lost me at that. And we're not going back to the past. When you recognize that you need to apologize, you're doing a lot of healing for yourself. And I started to recognize that the person was trying to heal themselves, trying to work on themselves. Doesn't that just make you have sympathy or empathy for them, knowing that they are asking for your forgiveness? It runs deep, guys. Our audience member Ray says feelings of recognizing you're wrong and not if it doesn't feel right, then don't. Yeah, do it genuinely. I got that. Apologize and challenging ourselves. If you know of someone that needs to hear this, please forward it. I give you permission. What do? We want very much to be able to let the people apologize. Because if you say, you owe me an apology, well, you don't force it. Good morning and welcome to our program. Please let us know where you all are from. So, when we apologize, more times than not, a person forgives. You guys get that? When you apologize, there's the impact of forgiveness in many cases. Not in all cases, but in many cases. So I want you to think about that. So, from what we've gathered, do you think that apology is wrong or right? Or that you have nothing to apologize about? Because when you look at yourself, how many people have apologized to you? This can be very painful for some because many feel people have hurt them and they never got an apology. I'm going to tell you, if you never get that apology, I want you to still write down the person's name. And when you write their name down, I want you to be able to explain why you feel they should apologize. Because you know what, you're going to identify some of the feelings that you might still carry. You know, some people are in denial. They don't apologize because why? They don't feel they've done anything wrong. Because they're not accepting accountability. Always remember that. So when I apologize to people that I've hurt, and even if it's brought to my attention, I will apologize. We have to think about behavior. We have to think about our feelings. Everyone that's listening to this program and that will listen to it has a need to be forgiven, as well as a need for someone to forgive you. Never forget that. We're going to be right back, guys, with our conversation, closing it out. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about challenging ourselves to forgive ourselves. We'll be right back.
Facing the lion is always positive. And so I ask you today, as we are going to be facing our lions or challenges of the week, what did you face this week that was challenging to you?
We're back, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we wrap up our podcast today, I just want to tell you something. Ray, thank you so much for being here. Just like Ray just got on, you can do it just like that in the live conversation. You guys can get on our page just like Ray is, okay? And jump right into the conversation. Thank you, Ray, for doing that. So, what do we learn? Apologies are impactful. Apologies are powerful. Apologies are ones that bring good health, mentally, emotionally. And apologies are for those of you who want to accept accountability and responsibility. We are challenging you this week to apologize. Don't always be the person that waits till someone comes and apologizes to you. Because there's going to be a lot of times in life where people are not going to do that. But I don't want you to say, I waited too late. I gave you the experience of my nephew, and I'm so glad that we had cleared the way before he was murdered. I was so thankful for that. Because if you've ever had the experience of getting into an argument with someone and you didn't apologize, well, whose fault is that? I want you to think about it. Our last question of today is, what did you learn and discover in today's finally Friday challenge of apologizing? What did you learn from that? I learned that just like a lion's bite, it has effect. It has impact. And that I need to challenge myself more because of my personality and the way I might word something to apologize when offending someone. Find your reason to apologize. And when you find your reasons to apologize, you'd be surprised at how you challenge your emotions. I want to thank Ray for being here today. Ray, thank you so much. I want to thank all of you around the world for listening to us. We are now at 320 people on Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast page on Facebook. If you don't know where we are, look for this lion that you see behind you on Facebook. Join our pages as you listen, as you stream. We're always here. We're always available. I do have one-on-ones with people that you can actually do a video call wherever you are, at work, at home, in the privacy of wherever you are. I'd love to sit down and talk with you. Whatever your challenges that you are facing or have faced, you can provide lion-like strength. We want you to challenge yourself more often and be like that lion's roar. Thanks everybody for being right here with us for the week. Go check out our YouTube pages. Trish puts them together so nicely, and we're thankful for all the work that she has done. We'll be back here next week. Don't forget, my friends, that on Saturdays, it's me with Vibe Talk After Dark radio show. Just as evening happens around your world, find us live on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't heard our new radio show, please subscribe to our YouTube page. It's free. You can see us right there. We love music and we listen to music. And it's our way of your being able to say what you feel and also to dedicate songs of what you want to hear. So, if I don't see you before, we'll hear you Saturday night. Please join me. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody.